I get it. If you're one of those people who thinks, healing eczema is almost impossible, the reason behind that is because eczema is so cyclical. You get a flare up and then you see some healing and then you get a flare up again, and you kind of think, okay, you're curious, is there a way to actually not have any more flare ups, not see any eczema? And you do everything you can. You take those supplements, you may have experimented with, steroids. There are different ways that you're trying to get that symptomology under control. But here is my big question about that. When we look at the symptoms and when we want to reduce symptoms, we're basically looking into a way that we can help the skin bring that inflammation back inside our bodies, and for us not to experience what our bodies are trying to say. So in a way, we're suppressing what our bodies want to tell us. And when it comes to eczema, what the body wants to say is, I am internally acidic, so I need to show you through the third kidney, because the two kidneys that are working on all of this waste are so compromised by it that the third kidney, your skin, is the only way to get that waste out. And this is actually the way that we can see what's going on inside our bodies. So in a way, it's a blessing, and of course we feel it's a curse, but it's a blessing because we can see how imbalanced our bodies are. There are people that are really acidic inside and that have a lot of issues with their health, but they don't see that symptomology until maybe it's too late. So what eczema does is that it offers that visible capacity to understand that inside we are acidic, our immune system is dysregulated, our cortisol levels are way down, so the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the waste system are not performing to their optimal levels. So what we have to do is support the body in doing so, and healing takes that approach. So it's not about suppressing the symptoms, it's about going after what's causing our bodies to become inflamed. And why does the body use the skin as a third kidney? Because your skin is one of the biggest elimination channels. So through the sweating process, the skin is able to release all of this waste, the toxins, the chemicals, the small parasites, anything your body's holding on to that it can't process through the kidneys. And the kidneys, of course, are your waste filters. So any lymphatic waste, anything that's water soluble that your body wants to get rid of, goes right through the kidneys. And this is done in the form of urine. So whereas your skin creates sweat, your kidneys create urine to get rid of waste. So if you approach the eczema healing process through natural means, which I recommend, and you stay away from topical steroids, from any medications, this is going to be the easiest way and the only way that you can heal eczema for good. All the other ways are just symptom relief strategies, meaning you're going to see the flare-ups subside, but then when you stop taking that medication, everything will come back with vengeance. So you don't want to go that route because it's going to prolong the healing process. It's going to cause a lot of frustration. We basically cannot take shortcuts in healing because healing is a journey of coming back to center, coming back to harmony. But you have to keep in mind that the body will keep talking to you through symptomology. Maybe if you suppress one symptom, you're going to see another symptom until you understand that something has to be done. And sometimes people don't want to hear any of those symptoms until the body collapses. And we don't want to be at that point where the body has given up on all its alert mechanisms to tell us that something is off. We want to be there at those early stages when we see that eczema just ignite, and then we can ask, okay, where, as an investigator, where do I think what caused this, and where do I think I was in terms of emotions and in terms of mental states that this happened, 2, 3, 4 days later. So we have to ask, what caused me to flare up today? If maybe I had dairy 2 days ago, I had that ice cream, was that correlated? And if not, maybe that stress that I had yesterday about work could have caused it as well. And what about the synergy of those two experiences, the diet and the stress? So we tax the body twice as much and that can cause the flare up. So maybe it wasn't the ice cream per se. Maybe when we have dairy, we don't flare up. But when we have dairy followed by stress, or when we don't get enough sleep, that's what causes us to flare up. We have to look at the body as keeping track of all these taxing experiences and then finally telling us it's enough. So the flare-up is just that mechanism, that symptom of telling us the cup is too full. We have to get back to releasing that waste, releasing that inflammation, and letting the body self-heal through mechanisms of diet, through nervous system regulation, and through rest. So if you're using alkaline foods to detox the body, what's going to happen is all of that hydration is now going to interface with the acidity in the body, and those acid pockets, that inflammation is going to start loosening up. And the body is now going to start circulating those acids through your lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is your immune system. And the way the body uses it, it uses it like your bathroom or your cell's bathroom. So whereas your blood is your kitchen and the blood nourishes cells, the lymphatic system helps those cells take the waste that they no longer need out of the body. So it keeps you basically free from disease. So once the lymph system starts circulating properly, imagine what happens to those acids. Now everything is being taken from one place to another back to the kidneys. Everything's circulating, everything's opening up. So it could look a little bit like an internal explosion of this acidic waste being freed and circulated back to the kidneys or all the other elimination channels. It could be your skin, it could be your lungs. The body's going to use everything it has to release this waste. And of course, your skin may get worse during this process because the body is using everything, including your skin, to get rid of this waste. So what is the waste that you see when you look at your skin when you have eczema? That is your lymph system waste. The body is using your skin to get rid of its waste. So when you see the oozing, the very liquidy, lipidy type of oozing that comes out of eczema, that is your lymphatic system. That is the waste. That's why it itches, that's why it burns, because it's acidic. So you may see your skin get worse, maybe for a week, maybe for 2 weeks, depending on the severity of your eczema, before it starts getting better. So during this process, don't get afraid. It's basically your body is doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to use your elimination channels to detoxify, and your skin is now the way to do that. So if you see your skin getting worse temporarily, don't stop what you're doing. You're doing things right. Don't let the symptoms trick you into thinking that what you're doing is wrong. It's actually just the process, the mechanism that the body uses to get rid of initially of highly acidic waste. So after that initial surge of waste elimination, the body's going to now have less to work with. So less waste means the elimination organs are going to be less burdened, and so the kidneys are going to be stronger. They're going to be able to take care of more of that waste. So your skin is going to then start clearing up. So give your body a little bit of time to adjust. You're going to see a little bit of blowback because you're opening up all those inflammatory channels, and now the lymph system is actually doing its job. And so, yes, during detox, your symptoms can get a bit worse before they get better, but this is very temporary. And the more that you rest, the more that you hydrate, the more that you let the body do what it's supposed to do, the faster you'll see healing from these detox symptoms. So if you keep up with natural healing and you follow all those steps that I recommend on this channel for healing eczema for good, then you're going to see the second step would be just the recession of your chronic eczema or your eczema prone skin. So after that initial healing crisis, you can then start seeing your skin heal for good. You're going to see less and less of the redness, the oozing, even the scars will start healing. Everything will go back to how your skin was before it got eczema. So after that initial healing crisis, your skin will then start healing, and you're going to see progressive healing, so meaning less and less eczema over time. And this will happen fast. And then, well, actually, depending on the severity of your eczema, or if you've been going through a topical steroid withdrawal. So if you have taken medication and you've taken topicals to suppress symptoms, this will take longer. You're just going to have to work with your body and trust. So once your skin has almost fully healed, the last areas that are going to be more stubborn are going to be the hands and maybe the face, because those two are mostly exposed to basically everyday environmental factors. When we expose these areas to different conditions, they become sensitive, and that sensitivity can irritate the skin barrier. So you'll see still maybe 5 to 10% of your eczema still kind of yo-yoing. So the flare-ups would come back maybe very small on certain patches on your hands or your face. And maybe you'll see a recession of all of that happen over that season of healing. So what can happen is that over time, depending on different conditions, maybe you're exposed to cold, or you're stressed, or something can happen, but that eczema can come back in those small patches on those sensitive areas. So it's almost kind of like you've healed 90% of it, but then next season maybe that 10% comes back, and then the next season maybe the 5% comes back, and maybe over the next 2 years you're completely eczema free, and then something stressful happens and then that 2% comes back. So it's less and less of eczema coming back in severity, but still coming back because of stressful times or chemical input. This happens when our stress response is active and our adrenal glands are activated constantly, so they're stressed, or maybe our kidneys are sluggish, so we need to support the adrenals and the kidneys and the lymph system in doing its job. So when we have those symptoms come back, all we have to do is go back to more alkalinity, more alkaline foods, more alkaline emotions, better nervous system regulation, more rest, and then our bodies can deal with more of that inflammation. So if you had eczema and you healed it, you're still going to be very prone to it. So when those symptoms come back, they're a sign from the body, and they're telling your body, I just need to be brought back into balance. So all the alkaline foods, emotions, thoughts, and nervous system regulation, and the rest have to be brought back full fold to counteract that inflammatory response. So yes, you can heal eczema. Can you cure eczema? Yes, I think it can be cured, but not the way that people think. Eczema can be fully cured if you heal the nervous system fully, if you heal the endocrine system fully, and if your immune system is very optimal. So unless you live somewhere in a beautiful village outside of modern society, and you eat the best foods and you have no stress, you're probably not going to see eczema in that respect. But we live in a modern stressful world, so if we're wired to have eczema and we are prone to it, chances are that those mechanisms that have caused it will be activated in certain circumstances, but the way the body responds will be different, because now we have the tools to regulate. Now we have the tools to actually heal that stress response. Now we have the tools to eliminate that waste. So that is pretty much the journey of eczema healing. When you start, you may see a little bit of that, peak of detox symptoms, a healing crisis happen, and then when you get through that peak, then you're going to see a more sustainable healing happen. So the last 10% is going to just kind of yo-yo in and out depending on your lifestyle, stress. It's going to be very low in severity, and it's going to concentrate in your most sensitive areas. So depending on your nervous system, depending on how far you take your healing, this can happen once in a while. 1 year you're more stressed, you see it, the next few years you don't, and then maybe 1 year you do, but you know what to do with your body. You have the tools, you have the knowledge. But if you're not eating as optimally, if you're always stressed, you may see that maybe 10 to 15% of eczema still linger, because your body is not as clean and it's not able to take care of all of that inflammation. its self-repair mechanisms are compromised. So you want to get it back to the state where it can self-heal. So this is what you can expect when you commit to healing your eczema naturally. It's a process, it's a commitment, and it's knowing what to do and really trusting the time it takes to heal. Not looking for quick solutions, not looking for supplements and things that can suppress those symptoms, but listening to those symptoms and working with your body to get to that healing state. So thank you for listening, and I hope you found value in this video. And if you feel called to work with me in any way, all my information is down below. I would be happy to support you on this healing journey. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.